everyone. Welcome to your next Access lesson. This is going to talk about online versus paper job applications. I am Mrs. Sanford, and with me I have Mrs. Roeder today, who works in our Strive department mostly, and she helps students get jobs and in the community, and she's been doing this for like 10 years, right?
Sure have.
So you're pretty awesome.
I like to think so.
All right, so we're going to help you guys out with this application process because it can be a little tricky sometimes. So your learning targets today are?
By the time you leave here, hopefully you'll be able to identify the difference between online applications and paper applications. They're actually very different, in order to reach the same goal.
Yeah. So to do this, you're going to have to view each type of application. We're going to look very closely at the paper application and just briefly at the online to kind of show you some of the differences. So when you're searching for these job applications, it can be kind of tricky and kind of overwhelming sometimes, wouldn't you say?
I would say so, yes.
So it's important to know the differences between online and paper because you really do have a choice sometimes, and you have to choose which one's going to be best for you.
Right. I think you're going to find that in the future, most places are going to online applications. Back when I was looking for a job in high school, you only had the option of doing a paper application. There are still places out there that provide paper applications, though, and so it's really important to know how to go about completing those.
Okay, cool. All right, so where the heck do I start with this? The best thing to do is to first visit the business, the store, the restaurant, wherever you want to get a job. That is the best thing to do because you don't want to spend time filling out an online application if they're not even going to hire.
That's right.
So it's best to go in and talk to that person, someone in the store, see if they want a paper application or if online is the best thing to do. And then if you can't go into the store,
you can always call the business. I think that's always a great idea. Like Ms. Hanford said, you don't want to just assume that they're hiring and waste all this time filling out an application if they're not. So call and just simply say, are you guys hiring right now? If so, what positions are you hiring for?
And then worst case scenario, you can start by just looking online, seeing what's out there, but I found that a lot of students will fill out this huge online application and then try to call the person and they're like, oh, we're not even hiring.
Yeah, or we've already filled that position.
Yeah. So you can just look online first, but it's really not recommended because you might waste some time. Okay. So this is the first paper application that we wanted to show you. So this is, for example, if you went into TJ Maxx or Home Goods or Marshalls and you asked if they were hiring, they might hand you this paper application, say yes, please fill this out, and come back and give it to us.
One thing I think is really important to remember is when you're filling out a paper application, they only have this piece of paper to judge you on. So you want to make sure that you're giving them a good first impression. That saying is so true. You only have one chance to make a good first impression. So when you're filling out this piece of paper, make sure you're taking your time, that your handwriting is perfect, and that you are not doing any kind of text talk and writing, you with a letter U instead of YOU. Treat it like a kind of formal document and only use black or blue ink.
So maybe ask them for two in case you make a mistake. You can throw one out and use the spare one just to be sure that it looks the best it possibly can.
Yes, and don't fold it or crumble it up or anything like that.
This is like the second page of that paper application. This is going to be your availability. What are some tips you have for students when they're filling out their availability?
Well, I think you want to make yourself as available as possible. What that means is on this little spreadsheet that they have here, you want to make sure that as soon as you can get there, physically get to that place of employment, you put that as your start time, and as long as you're able to work there. So for example, if you're in school until 3:30, you might say Monday through Thursday you're available from 4 to 9. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have you work every Monday through Thursday, 4 to 9, but that just lets them know that you're available during that time. Where you're going to specify and how you're going to know that they're not going to give you 40 hours worth of work is because you've already written that you're going to work part-time. The other piece, the biggest piece that I see and the biggest mistake a lot of students make is making themselves unavailable on the weekend. If you want to get a job, you need to be available Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And again, if you put that you're available on Saturday from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m., that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to work a 12-hour shift. It just lets them know that they could ask you to come in during that span of time.
Yeah.
But
So-
most entry-level jobs will require you to work on the weekends.
Yeah. So if you're not willing to work on the weekends, then you're probably not ready to get your first part-time job.
Right.
As a high school student.
Right,
So
and good luck finding a job if you're not available at all on the weekends. It's just there's not that many out there.
yeah, it's a really good tip. And then the next part is your experience, and you might be thinking, well, I have never worked before, so what the heck do they do on this page if they've never worked before?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, my first piece of advice is to always read the instructions. On this particular application, you'll see at the top, it does say that you can use volunteer experience.
Okay.
And the way I look at it is any sort of information that you can provide on this page is better than nothing. So if you volunteered or if you babysat or if you've mowed lawns in your neighborhood, it's better to have something like that on this part than nothing at all.
Okay.
What you're basically trying to establish here is some sort of work history and show them that you have the potential to be a really good employee.
Okay, great. And then lastly is your education. You're going to want to put that you're in high school. It says that you're going to put that you have not received your diploma yet, but what should they do to show that they are not just a dropout?
Right. Assuming that you are working towards, your classes and you have an expected graduation date, I think that's always a good thing to put on there is if you're a junior right now and you plan on graduating next year, then you can write expected graduation June 2017. And that lets them know that you're kind of working towards that goal and you're on the right track.
Awesome. And then lastly is your references, which is a really important piece. They want to double check that people trust you and you're a good worker and they can feel comfortable qualifying or hiring you. So what should they do with this page?
Well, this part is really important. A lot of employers, especially if you don't have a lot of work experience, will call you references. I think there's two main points. One, always ask permission from the person before you put them down as a reference.
Okay.
That lets them know that, possibly TJ Maxx might be calling you.
Okay.
Is that okay if I use you? The other thing is only use people that know about your work, which would be maybe a previous supervisor, a coach, a teacher, somebody like that. Who you cannot use as a reference is somebody that's in your family or your friends. They might be a little too biased and you don't want to put family or friends as references.
Okay. Awesome. So it walks you through the paper application. And if you are choosing to do an online application or the place of business wants you to do an online application, you're going to see a lot of those same things, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
So this is an example. If you're going to fill out an online application for Target, so you go into Target and they say, we don't have paper applications. We want you to do it online. You're going to go to this website, ask them before you leave, how do I get to that online application? And you're going to see, if you kind of look up here in the gray, a lot of these things like background, references, work experience, things like that are all going to be very similar to the paper, except what's this major difference at the end, Ms. Roeder?
I think what you'll find with a lot of the online applications is many of them will have a skills assessment or some sort of test within the application. Sometimes it can be a math test. They want to know, especially if you're going to be a cashier or somebody, handling money, that math skills. Other times it'll be just basically questions about your customer service skills, your ability to problem solve, and whatever it is that job is looking for, they use that assessment to determine whether or not you're a good fit for the company.
Okay. So I'm just kind of walking you through things you might see in this online application. You'll see there's a lot of questions scrolling from page to page. This online application asks you to specify which department you want to be part of. So a lot of times the online applications are a little bit more specific. So what we're going to have you guys do is look through a couple of these different applications, and then you're going to reflect on your blog. So you're going to create a blog post called Paper versus Online Applications, summarize some of the things that Mrs. Roeder and I have talked about today, things to remember, helpful hints. Do you have any experience? And then look through some of these links that we gave you with these paper and online applications. Okay, so thanks you guys, thanks for listening, and we will good luck with your assignment.